I bought one of these cheap, made in China, gas tank floats. They're kind of a universal one. They slide up and down. You can bend it. You can do anything with it. And they had them listed under, you know, the Harley Davidson FXR tanks because they all the floats screw up in those things. And it didn't work. It didn't work in this one. The resistance wasn't even close. And but I was able to use the parts from it and make a good one. So this is the aftermarket one here. And it came with a pivot arm in the center, and then you can clamp on the rod onto that pivot arm and bend it any way you want with a float on it. I actually used the Chinese float and part of the arm. It was way longer. I cut part of it off. But the original Harley one in the center here, well, I think it's still in here. Just a sec here. Let me dump this out. If I had to do it again, I could do it 10 times quicker now. So yeah, so the original Harley one has this little spring on the end here. It's about a ½ inch longer than this. This one's missing a piece, like it's broken off. So I tried to bend it there a year ago and tried to make it work. And what that spring does, it puts pressure. You spring load it, so it puts pressure on that resistor in there. You can see all the little windings in there. And so as it turns, it increases the resistance or lowers the resistance, and that's how your fuel gauge works. So this is just a bad idea by Harley, because this thing just wears out and breaks. It snapped off. I tried to bend it, tried to make it work. It didn't work. But the Chinese had a good idea. On their center pivot point, they had a point sticking out. They had a needle coming out the end here, and they had a needle out the bottom, so the needle sits in that hole there. So I just drilled a hole in the Harley one, and you got to figure it out. It's not. This is actually bigger than the Harley. The Harley one's smaller circumference, so I had to drill a hole back. I don't know, 3 or 4 mil, a couple mil, and then I calculated it all out, got the center. That's how I did that. But it had a point on the bottom, and then a point out here, and then a point out the top, which locks it into this metal bar. So I drilled a hole in there. Well, actually, I used the original Harley bar. It had a hole already in it. So the point at the front that sticks into this has a spring on it, and like a little copper, it almost looks like a miniature rivet. It's got a little rounded end, and it's copper, and it's spring loaded onto that point. So when you stick it in there, it's spring loaded all the time. Equal tension on it all the time. Way better idea than this thing. And it's easily fixable too. If the spring goes or the copper wears out, I could easily fix that one. So I got that working. That was a lot of screwing around. And I just put a gallon of gas in here, so I know when I set it up it was on empty, so it should be above empty now, I'm hoping. Yeah, it just got, if I stood it up, it'd be a little bit fuller maybe. Oh, maybe not, because it's not much gas in there. Yeah, I may have to fill it up some more. Anyways, maybe it's good to know when it's on E here, I still got a gallon left. So I don't know, we'll see when I fill it up more. But I know it works because I could push it up and down, it works. So, yeah, and see, it was actually below the E when you start it, so. What else? So I got the gas in here, I got all the fuel lines hooked up, nothing's leaking, and I think I'm ready to fire this bike up. It's probably going to sump a little bit of oil. I poured quite a bit of oil. I cranked it over a bunch of times and it sumped a little bit because when I rebuilt the engine, you know, I slopped oil on the tappets and on the camshaft and in the crank and everything. I split the cases on this one. So, so this bike here, I've done a lot of work to this bike. I got new throttle cables on it. Yeah, the throttle cable broke. So I got the new throttle cables on it now. And since I bought this bike, I got the horn working down there. That didn't work. Got the new all-ball starter motor in, and it just whips this engine over. Yeah, rebuilt that whole engine top to bottom, like all new gaskets top to bottom, new lifters. It's got the Andrews EV27 cam in it. It's got there's a really good hydraulic lifters in it. My mind escapes me. I'm thinking Cool, K-E-W-L, but I'm not sure. And in the S&S carburetor, intake manifold, breather, push rods, adjustable push rods. I changed over the clutch. And the original FXRs, they had the lever action, and there's a lot of tension on that. It always seems to break the end of the fork off, the throw out. So I put in the newer style on it, and you have to change the outer cover and then the inner cover, like press the bearings out, put them in. Well, the bearings came in my new cover, so I just stuck the new cover on. And then I had to do a bit of an adapting down here on the cable, so it wouldn't hit the brake pedal. If you had forward controls, you wouldn't have to even worry about it, but I like the center controls. So I put all the center controls back on. This bike came with forward controls. I'm not a big fan of, I don't mind forward footrest, but I like my foot pegs right there. If you got to jump or stand up, it can save your life. I got the Bitwell bars on it. They were too narrow. They were 4 inches narrower. So I widened that up 4 inches, put a sleeve inside, had that welded. The original master cylinder was pooched, put a cheap aftermarket one on. These are about 105 bucks, something like that, American. Yeah, I found a backrest for it. Bought that there about a year ago. The original ones go for like 100, 200 bucks or something like that. I forgot what I paid for that one, 35 bucks. Fixed the seat. The hinge was broken off that. Put the Firebrand 2-in-1 exhaust system on. It's going to be loud. I might have to baffle it down a little bit. Done a lot to this bike. Oh yeah, and the ignition system. Had spark, had it running, and then the ignition was screwed up, and I think I put a new coil on this one too. A new ignition coil and the Ultima ignition system. The other Ultima ignition system was from like the 80s or something, early 90s, and it had 2 separate adjustments for front and rear cylinder, and it was screwing up, so I just put the new one in. All new oil lines on this thing. Changed all the fluids and oil filter. It's been so long that I can't remember if I put new tires on this. And I think I did. I think I did put new tires. I put original Harley ones on. Guy was selling brand new takeoff Michelins, and I'm pretty sure that's what I put on here. Yeah, Michelin's. This is the one. I don't think I changed the one on that bike. That's the way I bought that bike. Oh yeah, new brake lines. The brake lines were mush, and they were no good. And the old master cylinder was just solid crap in it. So flush this out, put all new brake lines on by Apex that are out of Toronto. And I still got a few more little things to do, but I think we're ready to fire it up. Let me see if it's going to fire up. I haven't fired it up yet. There isn't even any gas in that carburetor yet, so I got to turn that on. Those hydraulic lifters are called fueling. Fueling, just like fuel, fueling. Top of the line, best lifters out there. They weren't cheap. 200, I think 200 and some bucks, something like that. I think with the Canadian exchange, everything was 240 bucks or something like that, 250, I don't know. But they were expensive. They are by far the best. I had S&S lifters in there, and they're quiet when it starts up. As soon as the bike warms up, that they just start tap, 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 tap. They're just no good. I don't like that. Okay, let me fire this up. I didn't touch any of the adjustments on that carb because I had it running last year, so I haven't touched any of that stuff. So I may have to turn the idle up. I may have to dial it in a little bit. So first I'm going to turn it on reserve, which is up. Hopefully nothing leaks. Just give that a second. Choke is up. Don't see any leaks. It's a good sign. I don't even know, I might even have exhaust leaks, I don't know. Oh, there. You can hear it squirting now. Okay, so choke on, run. To neutral. Battery's dead. Ah, cheap battery. Put a charger on it. This battery cable is getting pretty worn out. This is old. I got a good set in my truck, but this is my garage pair. Put the bat in down here so it can't touch the frame. There. Let's see here. Positive. Negative. No gas leaking anywhere. Oh, I gotta get a rag for in there. Okay, put that like that. Turn on. Something doesn't want me to fire this bike up. Oh, I know. That when I was trying to crank it, I probably stuck out there with no voltage. I missed a video or something at this point, and I tried to start that FXR up, and I got it running. You know, it puked out some oil there out of the sump, because I did pour a lot of excessive oil in there when I was rebuilding it, you know, to make sure it had lots of oil around the crank and the camshaft and everything. But there was a lot of tappet noise, too much tappet noise. I let it run for about 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. That's about how long it takes for oil to circulate through a Harley. And the lifters were all tapping up and down, top at the rocker boxes and the bottom. I can hear, I'm missing the video. I had a stethoscope on and everything. I'm checking to listen to the noise. Was it coming from the rocker box, or was it coming from the lifters at the camshaft? And it was kind of getting, I could hear noise at top and bottom seemed fairly equal. But you could hear it initially when I fired up the bike there, that it was tapping quite a bit. So, you know, your mind starts thinking, okay, what else could it be? Am I getting oil pressure? Am I getting oil to those lifters? So this next part of the video here, I'm measuring the lengths of the all the springs, the pressure relief valve spring, and the anti-sump spring. And the anti-sump spring was bang on. The measurements were bang on, and the pressure relief valve one was a 1/4 inch too long. So I'm trying to eliminate things, why this thing is tapping so loud, and I eventually figure it out here, but that's this first part of the video. So I'm taking it apart. I got a spare engine, I got another oil pump. I'm kind of looking at it, following the oil flow. If I've got a plugged hole somewhere, and restricting oil getting to those lifters or getting to the rear cylinder. The rear cylinder sounds a little bit noisier, and so that's why I'm at the bench here. Here's the oil pump out of my spare engine, spare Evo engine, and I got the springs in here for the pressure relief valve and the anti-sump, and the Tatro machine, or Tatro channel on YouTube, Tatro. That's a great channel on Harleys, rebuilding Harleys. All years, all models. And he has the exact measurements of the spring length and the wire thickness and the width. And so I went to that and I checked the spring length on my pressure relief valve in here. And the length of mine, this one here, was a 1/4 inch longer, which increases the pressure before it blows off. So, but what that does though really is it increases the pressure, the oil pressure for the lower end, for the tappets, and reduces it, the kickoff point for the lower end of the crank. When that opens up, it allows a valve to open up and oil to come into the cone and then into the end of the crankshaft, and lubricates the bottom end of the Evolution engine. So that's not my problem. I don't think. So I tried to fire this bike up. A couple issues. My battery's no good. It's just not enough boost or kick there to turn it. When I put the other battery to it, just whips right over. And that battery's not, I put on the battery charger, it's not drawing any amps. Like, it's low, it's I don't know. It's weird. That's another weird thing. This is weird. So I'm getting tappet noises again, just like the S&S lifters. So was it just a coincidence? You know, S&S lifters start tapping. Well, they seem to tap more as it heated up, and I'm sure this one would have tapped more too as it heated up, but I didn't let it heat up. So, and I just can't believe those fueling lifters are bad. And I noticed with the S&S, the sound seemed to come more to the rear lifters. The pipes are so damn loud, it's hard to tell. But I put my stethoscope on, and I listened to up here to the rockers and the lifters up and down with my stethoscope on. And it does seem to be a little louder on the rear cylinder. I know I'm getting oil in the back cylinder because it was leaking around the seal here, the O-ring I don't know if it looked like it was in there all the way, but I took it out and put it back in again. It's not leaking now, but there was a pile of oil coming out of there. So I know that was working. I know we're getting oil to the front cylinders, or at least that one. And okay, I got another engine here. I'll show you. I'm thinking I got a plugged orifice somewhere. Well, there's two things. This probably the most common thing is when you put the tappet block on, the gasket blocks off that hole. If you block off that hole, you're not getting any oil to your tappets, and you're not getting any oil going up to your push rods, and you're not getting any oil going to your rockers. So that hole is extremely important. What I'm hoping that there isn't any dirt in there, because from the hole goes all the way across. Let me get my straw. Is this the one here? Okay, that one goes into there. This one here, I think it's this one here. This one here. This is your oil pump feed side, feeds into here. And this goes all the way back to, this is your oil pressure sending unit. And then from here, it goes across the back of, inside the cases, across the back, comes out this hole here, which kind of goes on an angle backwards here, that way, goes down to the hole, and then also comes out in here for this one, right underneath this screw here. So I think if I'm getting oil coming out of this one, I should be getting oil here. So I'm wondering if that gasket on that one over there is plugged. I'm going to pull that tappet, pull the rear push rods out, and check the tappets. And then when I pull those push rods out, I'm going to make sure they're clear. They haven't picked up any dirt inside those push rods. If it gets plugged at the bottom, you're not getting oil to your top end. So I'm going to be checking those. Might even pull the front block off as well too. Now those are aftermarket blocks on that one over too. They're S&S. You know, this is original stock Harley ones here. If I have to, I'll paint these up and put stock ones back on. But maybe those S&S blocks, I'll put the gasket on and double check it. I'm sure I did. Like I've done it twice now, and I know the gasket hole lined up here, but maybe in the block it's different. I don't know. I got an issue though. I got an issue, and that's me. It's always me. Murphy's Law. I always got something that doesn't go right, or something strange is happening. You know, like weird. Like I Googled the shit out of this last night. I couldn't find anything where people were complaining they're getting a louder tappet on one side, or where it's a bad, well, there's bad tappets, you get tappet noises, but mine are all brand new, you know, and the S&S ones were like new. So it leads me to believe I'm not getting oil to the tappets, not enough oil or oil pressure. So the other thing is to check my oil pressure here. But I took apart the pump, I rebuilt the pump, checked all the gaskets. It's like brand new. There's not a score mark, nothing in it. So yeah, this video is going to be in parts here, but that's where I'm at with the FXR. I'd love to get that bike running right, but I'm not driving it like that. A tappet noise, I don't like it. I want it to run like that bike over there. I don't care if it goes fast, really. I just want it to be smooth, quiet, reliable. Like touch the button, fires right up. Like that one there, I just touch the button now, fires right up. So I got a couple issues there. Battery issues. Could be my main red wire, the positive wire, could be like corroded in the ends. I should replace that cable. It tells right with that starter motor, replace the cable. And I didn't, so I probably should do that. Okay, that's where I'm at with this. I'm going to be pulling the push rods out and the lifter block out. I'm going to be double checking that gasket and looking for oil. And that's it for now. Okay. I got the bike up on the stand. I got the 2 spark plugs out. Turn the engine over to top dead center on the rear cylinder. I'm going to check these push rods first and this lifter. I'm going to probably pull the oil pressure gauge out and shoot air or an aerosol fluid. Make sure the passageway is clear. I'm going to make sure the lifter block is clear. There's something not right here. I know it takes about 3 minutes for a Harley to get all the air out of the system to pump the oil through. And I ran it for 3 minutes. Those lifters should have pumped up immediately. They're the first on the list. I checked the screen's good. I cleaned it before. I should know that, but oh, there we go. I gotta get my light. I can't see nothing. Okay. Let's make sure. Rerun. Get out of there. You're wrecking all my foam. You're wrecking all my foam. Oh. There we go. Just looking for anything obvious. There's oil in there. Okay. I gotta loosen those push rods right off and take them out. That's what I gotta do. Was it ½ inch, I think? It's a war. It's a war. Every time I work on these bikes, things just don't go that easy for me. I should take that air breather off, but we're gonna have to reset these again. Jeez, he's wrecking all my foam, all this knee pad foam. Rerun, you're wrecking every single one of them. Come on over here. Should be simple. Should just put this together, fire the bike up, should be quiet. Why do I always have the issues? It's gonna be something else, guaranteed. Guaranteed, it's gonna be something. I flushed clean, blew out everything, but maybe something got lodged in there. I don't know, there's something not right. Oh, that dog, he's wrecking everything. Get out of there. Just for attention. I can blow through, but not very good. And I do not see daylight. Oh, there, now I do. Now I'm seeing daylight. Don't know why I wasn't before. All right, next one. Took the oil sending unit out. Got to get you down lower here. Okay. Got 3 of the screws out. Just taking this one out. Take that lifter block out. And then I want to see that oil passageway clean all the way through. You know what? I'd like to see a problem. find the freaking problem. Lifters are gonna drop in. There's a lot of oil in there. See, there's a lot of oil in there, which is a good sign. That's fresh oil. Brand new lifters. Well, that's a good sign right there. Why the hell are we getting tapping? You can get the rocker shafts, if there's too much play in them, side to side, and you can get some noise, but that's not the noise I'm hearing. I'm hearing tappet noise. And look at this gasket here, make sure it's lined up. Okay, I can bring this to my bench. I'm gonna take the lifters out, make sure that spray some lubricant through here. It should come out the lifter body. I'm getting oil in here, so I'm sure this is working fine. Everything's working fine here. Why am I getting tappet noise? This is the first part of the engine that gets lubrication when you fire the bike up, even if it's you had no oil anywhere. You know, this is the first part that gets oil, and this is the first tappet that gets oil. Then the other side. So, you know. Are these tappets loose in there? No. I'm tempted to put the other tappet blocks in. I should stick the stock. I got stock lifters, stick them in. The noise goes away, then it's either this or that. But let me check everything all out first. These are the fueling lifters. They're the best lifters you can buy for Harleys. That there. I just can't see it being anything in the rocker box. It's simple. And I didn't notice any excessive play. Everything is normal as any other bike I've ever done. And I'm getting noise in both of them, but this one just seemed a little bit louder. Well, I gotta blow that out. Check this out. It's loaded with oil. You know, you can't beat that. That's loaded with oil. Jeez. There is one other thing. There's one other thing I could be doing wrong. Let me just blow this through here, make sure. Yeah, that blows through like nothing. So's that one. So that's good. I don't know how I could be doing this wrong, but what if I wasn't turning the push rod's adjustment properly? I don't know how. You know, look how many I've done. But those push rods adjustments are based on the threads per inch on those adjustable push rods. Some of them are coarse threads, some of them are fine threads. So let's say let me think on it. Okay, this is what I'm finding. These push rods here, which are aftermarket as well too, are, what is it here? Shoot, I just had it here. 20 or, wasn't 20 threads per inch, was it? They're fine thread. Yeah, 1/4 by 20. Okay, that's 1/4 by 20. So this one is finer. Standard's 1/4 by 20. Okay, this might lead to my problem here. I'm gonna go Google the hell out of this. So these push rods here, I thought they were S&S, but I'm not sure if S&S would use metric, because this is metric. It's 8mm by 0.8 threads per millimeter. This one here is 1/4 inch by 28 threads per inch. It's actually coarser than that one. So I got to go see how many flats I turned this. I think I turned it 16 flats, no, or four revolutions, 24 turns. But with this fine of threads, metric threads, I might need to go like 30 turns. I got to go Google that. So if I don't, if this push rod isn't set in the middle, it's like barely pushing that lifter down, so it's going to, it's not going to be enough tension on it. I got a feeling that's my problem. I'm going to go Google that right now. Okay, I just found Tetra Machine, their video, and I freeze framed it. This is exactly what I wanted to find. Here's all the brand names of the different popular push rods here, but I don't know what mine is. There's no name on it. I thought, like in the pictures, it was S&S, but it's not. It's an aftermarket cheap one. The S&S, I think my other ones are the S&S, the other adjustable ones, but those ones I got to take the heads off to get in still. So all of these are in threads per inch. These push rods, Push rods adjustments for hydraulic tappets, 24, 28, 32. You know, threads print. What the threads on the push rod? I think that metric one is somewhere between 32 and 40. So threads per inch, 52, 30 flats. But anyways, all of these number of flats you turn it and threads per inch. What you want is about 100 thou. So there must be 200 thou give in those hydraulic lifters, and you want to get it in the middle. So all of them are right hovering a little above, a little below 100 thou. So I'm going to go out there and measure, turn that nut till I get 100 thou, and just see how many flats that is. I got a feeling it's going to be around 30. And I'm not sure if all of these ones are different flats on here. And then this Riviera one's 40. Like, that'd be really fine thread. Maybe that's what mine is, I don't know. But I'm going to go out there and turn it, because it must be 200 thou travel in those hydraulic lifters. I'm going to go to the fueling website for those lifters and see what the travel is, because you want to set it for the middle. And with that being the extra fine, it's finer than that other one. That's my problem. It's not tight enough. It's too spongy, and I'm getting tappet noise. So let me Google around a little bit more. This is what I wanted to find. Fueling full travel. You want the push rod set between that 90 and 110 thou, so 100 thou is perfect, and its total lifter travel is 200 thou on the fueling lifter. So that's what I got to go out there and figure out what that push rod, how many turns I got to do on it. That's going to be my problem, I'm pretty sure. It's got the same chart down below here too. Thing is, those are metrics. Must be cheap Chinese push rods, I bet you. I'd put the other ones in, but you got to take the valve covers and everything off. So let me see here. Yeah, I'm gonna read this a little bit more. What fueling is saying though, when they build engines, they like solid push rods. There's no flex in them, and if you use their adjustable push rods, there's only maybe a 10 thou flex. The ones that I've got there, they basically just showed on you got like a 30 thou flex on it, which throws out the length of the push rod as it's flexing. But those are more high performance engines. You know, this isn't too high performance mine. Okay, I'm gonna read this a little bit more. Okay, we set this for 80 thou. It's on metric inches. You zero it. Or 80 thou. I want 100 thou. Well, there's 0.990. Let's see if I can get a little bit more. So touchy. There we go. 100 thou, right there exactly. It's like an eighth of, not quite an eighth of an inch. So, it'd be nice if I had this clamped. I got this snugged right up here. Let's see how many faces it takes to get there without this end turning. Gotta make sure that end doesn't turn. I gotta put should be a mark on one of these. That one's got the mark. Okay, let's see. How many if I turn this thing? I gotta have a mark on both of them so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Oh, wrong one. Okay. There's one revolution. Two revolution. Three revolution. I'll go 4 just to see what I had it at before. There's 4. That looks like too much. That's too much. Go back to 3. There's 3. Three looks pretty damn close. That's too much. Right about there. It's like 3 and 2 flats. 3 turns and a couple flats is 100 thou. But that's not that much out. Okay, where the heck there it is there. This is my standard thread gauge. It only goes to 30 threads per inch, and this is finer than that. So I use my metric, and it works out perfectly to 0.8, and I guess that works out to 32 threads per inch. You know, pretty close to 32 threads per inch. So, and I just physically counted them here. I count like 33. So I think that's what it is, 32 threads per inch, this one. And because that's another way you can do it too. Just measure it 1 inch, start counting, you know, if you're not sure, because it's metric. So I'm getting like 32, 33 there. So that, I had those adjusted wrong. Now, I can't believe it's gonna make that much of a difference, but it must. So I'm gonna, I already got the one pusher back in. I'm gonna put this one back in, but I'm gonna go to my video. I'm pretty sure I did it like 4 revolutions out because it's such fine threads, but I'm gonna go check right now. It should be like 3.19, 3 and like 1 flat should do it. Three full revolutions and then 1 flat. Okay, I just wanted to see how much I was out from 3.19 turns to 4 full turns out, and I just zeroed this. I got it set to 4 turns out. That's what I had them all set at. And I'm out like 23 thou. So I've compressed that lifter 23 thou, and I'm getting tappet noise. So just kind of for reference for anybody else stupid as me, make the same mistakes. Really depends on your push rod, and there's like they showed on Tetro's website there, and even the fueling website, there's like 8 different thread pitches you could have, from anywhere from 1.5 to 4 or 5 turns, 4 turns out or so. It's crazy. So yeah, this is 32 threads per inch, this one. So I'm going to reset them all to 3 and a little bit turn 1 face out, because there's 1, 2, 3, 6 faces. So I think that's exactly 6 faces out, 6 into 100, 5 and 100 is 20 thou. So yeah, a little more than 1 face out. Yeah. I think that's right. I got to think about that for a second. One face out would be pretty close. 3 and 1 face out. Okay, you got these ones all, the rear ones all set back together. And the front ones I got all adjusted. I'm just gonna wait for the pressure to release, because when you tighten them up, it's right tight. So as it's squeezing the oil out of the hydraulic lifters, then this should loosen up. I left these ones for like an hour to bleed down, because I didn't want to turn the engine over while these valves are still pushed up. You know, that you could bend the valve that way. So I let it sit for about an hour. Then I came out here and just adjusted these ones. So I just want to let it sit for a half hour. So I want to feel this to make sure these loosen up. Okay, that's it for now. And then put these back on. I'm going to try to fire it up again. I think that's what I'm going to do. I readjusted them all to 3 turns and a bit, and they bled down. Like, I waited till those ones bled down to turn it over to the front ones here. Did these ones. This one, the intake one, bled down, and then this one, I let it sit all night, and it's I can't turn it. It still hasn't bled down. So I heard what one guy did is he heated. I might put my heat gun on here for a little bit, just warm up the oil in it. See if that'll help leak down. Put this O-ring up here so I don't burn it, but just kind of warm it up. I don't know. Turn it over slowly and see if I got compression. If I don't have compression, then it's holding the valve open. I gotta be careful. Turn it over real slowly, not to hit the piston. I don't know if we can hit the piston. Yeah, solid as a rock. Okay, I'm missing another video here. I don't know. Maybe it's in one of my other files. But I turned the engine over twice, and I couldn't really feel any compression out of that front cylinder. I figured it was holding that valve open, and then I turned it over again the 3rd time, and I felt I had pressure in there. I felt the air coming out, and so then I went over to the lifter and the push rod, and I set it to the cam at its lowest point on the compression stroke, and then I could spin the push rod. So all of a sudden it released the pressure in that lifter. And it released it, so I turned the engine over, had good compression. So now I'm ready to fire it up. That's where I'm at now. Okay, battery was pretty dead. So I've been charging up for a couple hours on a trickle charge. I'm gonna try to fire it up. And I probably got a couple things I got going. I still got to adjust the carb and check the charging and that battery and the starter. Hopefully it was just that the battery was dead. But my first concern is to make sure I got no lifter noise. I don't like that. Hopefully I got them set right now, and I got no lifter noise. Hopefully it runs. Let's find out. Only got a little bit of gas in there, so I got it on reserve. Give it some choke. A little pump. Battery's not charged. Not charged enough. Okay, no lifter noise at all. Runs beautiful. Sounds great. I got the O-ring up here pinched up at the top. I had a hard time putting that one back in. I didn't have that O-ring at the top lined up, and it's leaking oil out of here. So when it cools down, I'll fix that. It dripped onto the pipe. I went to wipe and I touched the pipe here. It went brown instantly, but it'll polish up. That's the only oil leak I see, is that O-ring right there at the top. No, the motor sounds really good, nice and tight. Unbelievable what the difference of 5 flats out of 6 on the adjusting nuts. 23 thou, about 23 thou difference in stroke on that lifter. Quieted it right up. And you know what? That's probably what was the matter with the S&S lifters when I had them in there as well too. Although the S&S lifters started out nice and quiet, and then they got noisy when it got warmed up. So this thing sounds nice and tight and strong, and I can't wait to take it for a spin. I may have to dial in the fuel pump a little bit more when you give it throttle. A little bit of a bog at the beginning, but it wasn't quite warmed up, and then at the end there, it seemed pretty good. So, and I turned that mixture screw right in. It's in, I think it's only out about 1 turn, maybe 1 and a little bit. Check that right now, just to see where that is. Half, 1. I think it's exactly 1. 1, half, 1. Maybe give it just a little bit. Normally they're like 1.5. I'm going to, once I get that O-ring set in there, then I'm going to, I'll screw around with adjusting the carb a little bit better, but man, that sounds good. Those pipes are pretty loud though. I might even try to baffle them some more. They're almost straight, a little bit of baffling on the outside. I can take this off, undo the bolt here and one here, slide it out, and then if it's not wrapped, I'll wrap it with some insulation, see if I can quiet it down a little bit. I got a lot of older neighbors. I'll wake them up. No man, this bike is just about done. They're coming together. They're all coming together. Okay, that's it for this video. Next video will be a test run on this bike.